now both you and I are stage moderators. What's that supposed to mean?
Because I think we're admins. Admins are by default. And I've granted the staff role on Discord, to be able to join on their freely. And then all of us have the ability. Well, everyone can put there's a show requests. So when we get to the Q&A portion, or we need someone to speak, they can push that button, and then we can basically promote them to stage if they want to talk. No more dealing with muting or.
Can we test that real quick? Have someone try to request?
I tried it once, but if you want to try it out now with someone.
Oh, I guess I was like, maybe we should wait for people to, or someone did. Okay. Nice gods. Okay, so I see. Yeah, request speak, and then use to invite to speak, and they get to talk.
Yep, and then you can remove them afterward.
Okay, I'll test that. Okay. There, did invite to speak to gods. Yeah, I can repaste it in the. I know it's on meeting
it's
agenda.
It's in meeting agenda, Kitty. I posted yesterday.
I'll just put it back in meeting live.
Let me get the MRT News Channel Twitter up.
Oop, someone boxed me in. Okay. Okay, Denty. I don't know. Pretty sus. You're standing right next to me.
Okay, are we ready here? There's not many. We have a bit of a quorum problem.
A little bit.
Okay, let me go ping staff because they need to get in here.
AP said you'll be on in a little bit.
For our viewers on MBS, welcome to the April 2021 General Staff Meeting. We are waiting on the meeting to start. It will be beginning with topic 5A, rewording the 300 to 500 block rules. Just a reminder, today's meeting had no private portion, so we are beginning with section 5 in the public portion, community issues. And we will be live with the GSM once the staff are ready.
But I do have absentee ballots from Chief Kyle and Volt, so.
It was only because, just in case some kind of outage occurred.
Okay. But technically, based on that, that's really 5 plus 3. We have 8, technically. So we have enough to at least get some notion going here.
Just ping Yoshi because he is on green.
Yeah, he's probably waking up. Right. Ready to start? Are we ready?
Yep, I'm ready to go.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to the April 2021 General Staff Meeting. Chief's not here today, so I'll be your host and meeting mover, person who keeps the meeting moving. We do not have any. Okay, actually, in attendance right now we have AP Echo, myself, CC, Skelly, Vicky. I have absentee ballots from Chief Kyle and Volp, who are not here, so we do have enough votes, I think, for a quorum, technically. I guess we'll just get started. There are no moderator nominations this time. Actually, there were no nominations whatsoever submitted. I'm not sure what the reason for that would be. Who knows? Could be a multitude of reasons, but we don't have to deal with that this meeting. So we're going to go straight. Oh, sorry.
Please submit noms in the future for the next one.
Yeah. So we're going to go straight on to. We have several community issues to go over. They're chunky. The first one we're going to look at is 5A. What is it mine? So this is rewording the 300-500 block rules. The main thing about this one is that apparently basically this is just restoring some of the wording that used to be in the rule, but was removed in the rules revamp in 2019, I believe. Specifically, there's a part that says before the revamp, it said before building between 300 and 500 blocks of a town, you must contact the mayor of the nearby town. The before building part was removed, so now the rules are a little less clear. So now I'm proposing to reintroduce that, just basically reword it, make it a little more clear, and yeah, but it does also make it very clear about how inactive towns and structures fit into this too. So
Yeah, I'm pretty fine with that.
Question from Gods is, what does contacting mean in this sense? Is it just a mail, or what is the expectation there?
you have to. Are you talking about the 500 block rule?
Yes, I think that in this sense, yes.
I think it's you mail or Discord. I don't feel like we need to specify it in this rule. I think it's fairly you just need to contact them in some way.
Yeah, I know there's a question over this with later topics about what exactly we define as staff as contacting, like sending a mail and that's it, or a conversation. I think that's a question of multiple rules recently.
Yeah. The one thing I was thinking about, and I didn't add it to the rule, is does this mean, because the original rule just says you have to go contact player, does the other player have to acknowledge?
I thought it was saying basically that you have to make an attempt to contact the player, and for 500 blocks, if the player makes a reasonable, if you make a reasonable attempt to contact the other player, but they don't respond, then that's on the other player, and it counts if you make an attempt to contact that's in a reasonable manner, like Discord DMs or /mail, and they don't respond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
If they ghost you, then it's still okay.
Okay, I just want to clarify that because the other person can't do anything technically, like they can't refuse based on that rule. So
Working on it, Kitty.
do you think that it should have specific, because Kitty's saying it should specifically say they don't need to respond. You don't have to wait for them to respond.
Because that's the main difference of like what you wrote versus, because you have it in yours get permission.
Oh, sorry, where are you reading that?
I'm trying. Wait, never mind.
No, we're talking about the 500 block rule. Not
yeah,
the
500. Yeah, I'm being dumb. I was mixing the two.
Yeah. The 300 says you must make a reasonable effort to notify the player before you start building.
Doesn't it already say notification?
I think Kitty's asking, and I think it makes sense, like to make it very clear that you don't have to wait for the person to respond, right? Dudes, I don't really want to go into the semantics of communication or notification because, frankly, if you have an issue with that, you have to, instead of using those words, you should just make it. You should use some other words to explain it, I think. No, Kitty, I think you're misunderstanding. You don't have to wait for them to respond. For this particular rule, like as it stands, it just means that you have to just contact them. You have to make an effort to.
I think Kitty's saying that he wants us to make sure that the player responds back if they're active.
But if they're not active, that doesn't matter. Because remember, if it's an inactive town, they don't. Like they don't need to do anything there. The purpose of this, remember, the 500 block rule is the other person can't refuse anything. You just need to notify the other person that says, I'm building here, right? Yeah.
Well, I would agree with Kitty in that to an extent the purpose of the 500 block rule is to do some coordination. So maybe a 7-day waiting period would be fine.
I don't think a really time period. We need
I don't want
a
to.
time period.
I don't like bogging the rule down for the time period.
But I can agree. I can understand if you just want to keep it simple.
It's the assumptions. It's the if a player is 2.5 months gone, they're probably not going to respond in the week. But
is there another way we can reword this? Like, that's what I'm trying to think.
Just reach out to, but best way. Sorry, just reach out to, but I'm not sure how well that would translate. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not a lawyer. Wait.
Okay, I'm just gonna. So just remember the original. Honestly, what's written here on my proposal is pretty much the same as what's on the rules page. Like, the only thing I added was before to make it clear the before you build, because we've had some issues where people thought they could build first and then talk to someone or that sort of thing.
I don't think doing a slash mail is really. I don't think we should do codified that.
Let's not be specific. Let's
Yeah.
not. I don't want to be too specific. Like, it has to be Discord mail, because if things change later on, we find some other new communication medium. I have to re-update the rule. Yeah. So, Kitty, just so you know, reasonable accommodate buildings in a reasonable manner. That's in the current rule. That's not changed in here.
I think Kitty's saying because the way that they've been interpreting it, that implies that they have to, like the mayor has to respond.
Okay.
And we're saying here that they don't have to, and that's what Kitty's asking about.
So, do you want to add something to the rule? Could this be solved by adding in the rule then that we do require a response from them, right? Because the interpretation of accommodating in a reasonable manner means that they did get back to you, right?
Problem is, if they don't want to give permission, they could just not respond.
But they're not. They can't give. They're not able to deny permission.
But as in, if we require a response before they can begin, if they require a response before they can begin, surely.
Yeah, that's where a time period comes in, because it's okay. There are two scenarios: you contact the person, they respond, then you figure it out, or you contact the person, they never respond. How long do you wait? Is a question. Like how? Like at some point, let's say the person's not inactive, so less than 3 months, but they just don't respond yet, right?
I think a few weeks is too long.
I think a couple of days is long enough.
I mean, this relates to CC's other proposal too, And I will say there's also some questions about what kind of time period we should wait for that, right? And I've seen a whole different bunch of answers. Some of them say 2 weeks, some of them say a couple days, a week, a month. So maybe I don't know, maybe it's worth leaving this part of the rule for now and then discuss this further when we get to 5C. How about that?
That sounds reasonable. But
Okay.
the amendment to the rule itself about making it clear that you have to contact them before breaking the 300 block rule, that's passed?
Yeah, that I am going to reword that part. Yeah, because that was not in the original rule, or this version of the rule, I should say.
Yeah, I'm fine with rewording the new rewording. That
Yeah.
we proposed.
Okay, we might come back to this, and maybe whatever we decide in 5C might apply back here, but we can decide that at that point.
Yeah.
So are we moving on to 5B then?
Moving on to 5B. Skelly. Well, there's a lot here.
Here we go.
Well, I agree with Frumpel's wording of the rules, actually. But do you want me to go through this quickly and summarize it?
Just maybe summarize what you're trying to go for, Skelly, I guess. Yeah. So people know.
My apologies, I was getting a couple tweets. Anyway, so basically, if you aren't aware, I'm not going to go into the specifics of the incidents, but basically, there's a bit of a disconnect between what the plagiarism rule says on the website and how staff historically have interpreted the rule. So the website seems to say that the plagiarism rule, which is basically do not copy builds from other people without credit, only means that you can't just copy builds from other people without credit. But how staff have interpreted it historically is that the rule also means that when you're submitting a town for a rank review, specifically senator, governor, or premier, you should make it clear which builds in the town were made by other people. And the interpretation is that if you don't make it clear what builds in your town were made by others, then that's a form of what could be called lying by omission, and that's considered a form of plagiarism. So the proposal here, which Frumpel did a better job at doing, in my opinion, is basically to try to synchronize the rules with how they have historically been interpreted.
Another way I'm going to interpret it is, so historically, most of the plagiarism violations have mainly been by people copying builds from elsewhere, like another server, website, YouTube, or something. The rules that were written as written just failed to cover cases where it's just built by someone else on the server. So what my rewrite is basically saying, basically our position as staff, I wish it was obvious, but I guess we have to spell it out for you guys, is plagiarism is not allowed. Like, we don't tolerate it in any form. Like, copying someone else's build, regardless of where it came from, that's not respectful. That's not nice. So I'm trying to rewrite it so that it says, yeah, plagiarism is bad. Give credit where it's due. And then I try to be specific about when you are submitting something for town review, you need to be as honest as possible. And I try to also, I know there's some questions about like, oh, if several people built, chipped into a certain build, like how do we know who owns the build, that sort of thing. I gave some guidelines about like 50%, but even if you're not sure of the origin, or if it's close to 50%, I recommended that you err on the side of caution and just declare it anyway, right? And then staff will take that into account as to whether to include it in their city review. In general, if it's not made by you, that won't count towards scale or building quality or number of builds, for example. These sort of builds will still contribute to ambience and just filling out the empty areas. So it's not a whole total lost cause. I think Otto asked that question, so I answered that. But yeah.
We're starting a few questions right now in the Mean Live channel.
So, from what I understand, effort is meaning the creative labor that was put into the build. So we're not talking about if if you designed the build and had people manually put down blocks for the walls that you designed on your command. We're more talking about if someone else had a major role in the actual design and planning of the build creatively.
Katie, I'm not sure if I'd agree with that. You're saying obviously it wasn't built by someone else. I would consider Intra-Rail technically a franchise because technically it's another company building in someone else's town. I think it's pretty obvious. I think we also clarified this, right? Because franchise, there was a clarification of the franchise rule a long time ago.
Yeah, I think I remember that. And
Yeah.
and rail companies are franchises.
Yeah, no.
Same with like bus companies and stuff like that.
Franchise is defined as any commercial building. I'm reading the rules. The franchise is defined as any commercial building designed to sell goods or services. Train transport is a service. Yeah, I think I may have not updated that part on the website, the private property stuff, but yeah, no.
I did want to ask, like, I know Imperial actually brought this up in his comment was about how they declare builds. I know in your proposal you mentioned a sign. I kind of would be in favor of just something to say like it has to be declared in some form or fashion, not really like specifying a sign, because I feel like that's very specific. And
Which part are you referring to? Sorry.
at the very end of your proposal,
Yeah.
Once you've copied the build, you must place a sign in the exterior of the build that attributes back to the original source.
That is, just so you know, that's in our existing franchise rules.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm aware of that. I'm just saying, like, I know Imperial mentioned. I actually kind of like what Imperial mentioned about not only a sign, but any other form or fashion of declaring it.
Let's see. To be honest, yeah, I consider, especially for the town review, I consider declaring it to be more useful, at least for staff, because it's right in our face.
I mean, but like any record is kind of helpful anyway, because like Imperial mentioned how he keeps like a record in his sense. I think any form of record is good. Versus
the problem
sign.
is the thing is, sorry, the thing is how accessible is that record though? Is it something? Is a record they hold? Like,
I think if they were to send say they had a spreadsheet of every building in the city and who built it, and they were to send a link to that with the town review, the I can't think of the word now. The intent is obvious there.
Okay.
I think it's
if that is what
refer back to.
If that is what you're suggesting, how would you reword that last part then? Instead of saying you must also place a sign, how exactly would you word that?
Town mayor must keep a formal record of copy builds. This can be and so it may be like kind of show like kind of what we were looking for in the sense of detailing. I would say sense of who built it, what it is, maybe coordinates. This to show location if it's not going to be in game.
Do you want to try typing out? Again, we have to be very specific and exact here. So if you want to try typing out below and then compare it.
Yeah, I will try to word something in a comment real quick.
Okay. Actually, no, CC, try typing it out. You can just type it out because remember, comments aren't shown to everyone.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there is the.
Sorry. One thing I got referring to Gods and Eden. I forgot to say this in this the clarification that's going to be here is also going to update the form as well. Yes, because unfortunately the issues seem to come from that the form was outdated and didn't say this specifically. So by changing this, we will be changing the form, just to make that very clear. Go ahead, AP. Sorry.
There is, just thinking, it might be best to give in the procedures and policies section. Perhaps, yeah, I think as the wording says, mayors must keep a formal record. Good examples of these are given in the procedures and in the procedures.
That's kind of what I thought of whenever in a meeting channel. Because a lot of the things we look for in the review has mainly been where are the copy builds and where is it? And if it's not in game, if you don't have like a sign in game, because the sign you immediately know where it is and what it is. But like if they don't have it in game, coordinates at least help identify where that build is.
Actually, couldn't the wiki be a very good help to this? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they could use the wiki and just like that's why I put any public record.
I don't think necessarily public record. If it's a spreadsheet that's sent to
or formal, whatever.
I like public because it's just in the sense of transparency. Like, so it's not just for staff, but also for others too, right? Because the thing is, what could happen, I think, is if it's not public, some other member might recognize a build that they've seen somewhere else, like some other server, and then they see it on here, and then they'll point it out to us, and then we have to get their record and all that sort of stuff. If it's public, then the member can just look at the public record and just compare it there, right?
Then there's also the issue of how do you make a record? How to keep the record public? If it's on the wiki, then fair enough, it's there for anybody to search and see. If it's, say, a private spreadsheet that they're keeping.
Yeah, I think a wiki's fine. A public spreadsheet's fine. I don't think you can really do this in game unless you have books or something. But and there's also signs too. I think signs should still be an option, maybe.
That's why I try to keep it kind of broad of like just that to allow signs still be used.
In that, I know. In that sense, do we want to be just to help people when they read this rule? Can we specify those three options?
Yeah,
just so they know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly, Kitty.
Okay.
I definitely think people always ask for examples, so we can always like show examples.
Yeah. Or I was thinking of the example of the CC buildings directory.
Yeah.
Okay. CC, if you want to, you can go ahead and rewrite that part of my proposal if you want.
Oh boy.
No, don't. Yeah, I mean, we'll look at it after you're like. You don't have to. Do you want? If you want, we don't have to do it now. We can come back to it, but like if you need time to write it, perhaps.
Yeah, I'll need time for my brain to process a more formal way, but I can definitely shoot something and later after the meeting.
Okay, but we are approving the new with your modification. We have does everyone have a general idea of what we're doing? Like, any other questions?
Yeah. Basically, it's like just something.
I think were there any other issues people had with this rewrite? I think what was the other thing? I don't remember now. I guess I'd say, are there any further objections to or concerns about this rewrite? And I guess except the franchise thing, because again, I think it's pretty clear. Train stations are train companies or transport companies. They're other companies. They provide a service. That's a franchise.
Yeah, I want to make a better wording, not short, and I'll shoot it out later.
I can think of a slight caveat there where a town mayor has built a station to act as a union station, but that's going to be I don't think that has a major
Seems like a
effect.
that seems like a special case that I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw in here again. I keep him just so that people are. In case people don't know, my philosophy when it comes to rules is try to be as concise and to the point as possible. I don't like adding all these. Once you start adding all these clauses for special cases, it gets not only gets longer to read. The longer you make the rule, the less likely people are going to read it. So, yeah.
Whole principle of KISS.
5C.
Okay, unless there are any other concerns, we're going to move on to 5C.
Right. So, I saw some in chat. Maybe not. I don't know. Was that Skelly who wrote that one? Because that's not too bad. Yeah. Okay. 5C. So I know I'd recently noticed with other IATs that people have not attempted to kind of contact the owner of those said assets. And whenever it has been mentioned to original owners, sometimes they have retracted the asset or moved it around because it apparently been against their wishes. This mainly tries to also encompass the former owner or current owner at that time to make sure that they are at least informed before the IAT was to happen, and also involve them in it. Because there have been like, if they don't really care, they'll most likely be fine with it, and plus it'll involve them in the conversation. It's a very respectful thing to do. Let them know, hey, I want to IAT your thing. Are you okay with that? And it gets a good conversation where it's not like someone raging out, why didn't you tell me? Things like that. I'm trying to kind of prevent bad things happening in a way. And that's why I kind of proposed to basically say, if you're an IAT, talk to the original person first to let them know. The main question I had asked there was what we define as a reasonable time frame before submitting for an official IAT, like whenever you reach out to them.
Yeah, and as
that
I
kind
said,
of generated lots of discussion.
As I said before, it sounds like there's a variety of different answers. I'll actually read out the absentee ballots for this question, and they're kind of all over the place. Chief said, where is it? Sorry, I'm trying to look for it. Yep, Chief said 2 weeks for this one. That's his time frame he's suggesting. Sorry, I should mention all of them. All absentee ballots are in favor of this proposal. It's just the time period seems to be one. So Chief said 2 weeks. Kyle said 2 weeks. Though
he mentioned that in forum, yeah, because Kyle and I were talking about that in forum.
Volp said at minimum 48 hours, at maximum a week.
Yeah.
And then finally, I've disconnected. And Skelly, Skelly's here. Skelly said a week. So
I think a week is reasonable.
I think a week is most reasonable because it'll most because within a week that provides leeway for like someone's IRL schedule, I suppose. But it's not like too much time because if it's not in that first week, there's probably not too much chance that it would be in that second week.
Okay, gods, that's why I have in my proposal just to say any form of communication. That's why I said they must make an attempt to contact, like reach out in all means, I believe is what I wrote.
So
yeah.
I made a
Establish
comment on the doc that probably won't be understandable actually, but I'll explain it now. So basically my idea is this: the period has to be 1 week, but if you submit the IAT within a week of the staff meeting and we decide that the IAT otherwise is good, we could provisionally approve the IAT provided that the owner of the asset who you contacted does not say anything within the 1 week grace period counting from when they were contacted.
Kitty said that there's problematic wording here.
That's why I said establish contact, which is like other ways aside from just in game.
Should it say something along the lines of contact by as many means as possible?
Yeah, I think that would be a better way to word it.
Yeah, like because when I think effort, you shouldn't just send a mail and then be lazy and like, okay, I did my part. Like it should be try to send send it through all means, and hopefully one of them will be the one that they are actually paying attention to. Right.
Yeah, Kitty suggested maybe to go specific, but I don't think that really helps here.
I don't like specific with Discord. Again, there are several members on the server who are not. They can't be on Discord. They decide they're unable to, or they've chosen not to be on Discord. So, yeah.
Let me give a quick reword.
Well, I think it's unreasonable to expect an
How about
offline
that?
member to.
With all possible, like through all possible means.
Yeah, as I said, it looks like there's varying opinions about what the link should be.
Yeah, but as far as the contact like methods, is that a fine amendment?
Well, let's see if what Kitty thinks. Let's try. Yeah, let's focus on CC's amendment first, and then we can debate the whole length for.
Yeah, Kitty, was that wording a little bit better? I mainly just added through all possible means.
But this is specifically for IATs, so
yeah,
it's this. But so auto and it's specifically for IAT. So if somebody's at the point where they're still not eligible for being IAT'd anyway.
No, Kitty, we're not saying that we need to go. We don't go personal info, but I think when we mean all possible means, it's in-game mail and then Discord. Like I think those are the two big ones, right?
All reasonable possible means.
Yeah, email we're not going to expect. Yeah, if they list it publicly, then sure, but that's not one. Generally, that's not something that's public information, or that we expect everyone to know, right?
No, some people don't have single methods. It doesn't really help there. I'm just trying to point out that people need to contact like whatever that the other member has, because there have been times where people just either don't talk to them at all or might use one and then assume they're good.
Yeah, just keep it. Yeah, also keep in mind, I've seen cases where some people are they might be on both, but they only read in game. They don't check their Discord. And other times I've seen people who only check their Discord but don't look in game.
Yeah.
So I think you need to cover both bases there.
Yeah, through all possible means, mainly make sure that there's an attempt on each one of them that you can.
If anything, we may have to actually specify those two methods specifically, CC, maybe. I know we don't want to, but considering that people are trying to still argue like, oh, do we need to email? Do we need to go stalk them or something like
Not necessarily, Kitty, in the sense of we define activities when they're actually like doing stuff on the server. If they just join, that's not active. That's not active.
Kitty, to clarify, when I mean in-game, I mean /mail specifically.
Yeah, but he was saying like in terms of activity, in activities that they join, we're saying they aren't. He's saying that they're active now.
Yeah.
Which that's not how we define activity.
Generally, /scene is the general way of getting in activity, but it depends. If somebody joins every 2.5 months, says one sentence and leaves, we would probably count that as inactive.
Right.
Oh yeah, Racer suggesting staff email on their behalf. There are rare instances where we have done it if the person's not contactable by any means, and it's a rather important thing that we need to contact them about, but it's not something we want to do most of the time. As Skelly said, it does move the burden on us to contact them, and well, we don't have all the time in the world to be your operators, I guess.
I mean, again, activity is staff judgment, Kitty, of like what we define as inactive or not.
Plus, there is the very real possibility. There is the very real possibility that if you try and contact somebody for an IAT, they might turn around and say, "Sure, have it." That renders the IAT null and void, and that renders the IAT at that point null and void because it's already been transferred by official means if they email.
Kitty is saying, my point is someone reachable in game probably isn't inactive, so you can't IAT their stuff anyway.
No, that's not necessarily true. It could be someone who, again, the generalized definition of inactive is they haven't been in game 3 months, but maybe they just pop on occasionally, or they're just coming on in game to avoid the timer, the 3-month timer from triggering. And we said before that if people are doing that, if we can look at, if in those cases we have to look at server logs, and admin would have to do that. And if it's pretty clear that they've been just popping on very infrequently, then in those cases we will allow an IAT. We may allow an IAT in that situation. So.
I'm still waiting on the answer of whether my amendment was good or not.
Yeah, Kitty, could you answer that question? Actually, anyway, does CC's amendment
clarifying.
Does CC's amendment
whether adding through all possible means to it. So the way that I reworded it was, an IAT requester must attempt to establish contact with the original owner through all possible means before requesting the IAT. It's on the minutes too. Through all reasonable means. Okay. I don't have any problems with that. Anybody else? Like Kitty's of reasonable means?
Can we
specify? Yeah, reasonable means.
What about specifying maybe afterwards, saying by reasonable means we mean in-game mail and Discord?
Sure, I can do like in parentheses.
If possible, because again, some people aren't on Discord.
Yeah, in-game mail and no, not physical mail, Imperial.
No Imperial. Oh. Bad Imperial.
Yeah, let me send a carrier pigeon.
Otto, I've already explained this. There are cases where people occasionally pop out in game, and then they find out that there's an IT there. So.
I mean, there's always the fact that you find out
MRT mail. This is the best way to resurrect MRT mail.
Oh my god.
The mail center.
Wow.
Right. Is this all a ploy?
It seems like people were fine with that. So next, the other part, time, which kind of people were all debating earlier.
Yeah, no, I'm seeing so many different answers. I'm not sure if we can even.
A lot of people are saying that 1 week was too short.
And I will be up for 2 weeks. It's the time between. It's the usual time between meetings. So considering meetings usually 2 weeks, occasionally 3 weeks apart, I think 2 weeks is in line with that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess just going off what Skelly was saying, like, would you require CC them to state when they first initiate contact with the person in their IIT? Like, say, I'd contact this person on this date, so that we know like how long since.
Yeah, I mean, recently that's why I've been asking: have you made contact with the original owner? Like, for example, with Nexus, I went on chat and like asked Pretzel, "Did you contact Mind Vendor?" And he was like, "No, I haven't." I was like, "Do that." And then he finally was like, "Oh, I did." I think, I mean, I don't know if we should be like requiring photo evidence.
I think it's worth. I think it's just enough for now, just to state when they contact them. If there's doubt on it, then we might ask photo evidence. But I don't think we can make it a requirement. Yeah.
And then Skelly brought up whether we should go. Let me just like add it to agenda, pending their approval. Like, assuming they contact them before they, like, it's within the time frame for the whatever meeting.
Yeah.
We'll be fine allowing that. Yeah, fair point, Kitty.
Can we at least agree? Let's. I'm trying to. Since there's a lot of different answers, can we at least agree a minimum of 1 week?
Yeah.
A minimum of a week. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just start right there.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying this is the final setup. We could agree to 1 week or 2 weeks or something, but just establish that less than a week is less than a week doesn't seem long enough to wait for a response.
Yeah.
Okay, then do we want to argue between 1 2 weeks? I don't think longer than 2 weeks has been suggested, or maybe I might have missed that. Like, has anyone said a month? Or
someone mentioned it once, I believe, but
okay.
I believe it's mainly been 2 weeks has been the common theme in forum. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but at least that's what I remember seeing. Yeah, someone mentioned like if it was like longer than a month, that planning for like the meetings would be kind of really bad.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Because like, I'm up for like a max of 2 weeks because the fact of our meetings being 2 weeks apart.
So if you contact the person just after one meeting, you can have it approved for the next.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing though. If we do 2 weeks and they contact right on the day of, if we don't allow them to, like if we say they need explicit permission, or like they have to contact them. Yeah, the wording gets weird here.
Yeah, the timing gets weird because if meetings are generally every 2 weeks, that means you have to ask the person. If it's 2 weeks, if we set the limit at 2 weeks, you have to ask the person before the previous meeting, which doesn't make sense because you can't submit the IT then, right?
I mean, Kitty, that is up to the owner. They still own it. Then they can transfer it if they aren't going to come back, as we've seen by the past IATs. They still own it. It's like if they say no, that's up to them to do something about it.
Yeah, there's also some questions about whether there's a side question whether or not. I think I responded in forum about this. Like, if it doesn't necessarily mean that if they always say no, that doesn't mean that an IT is invalid. Generally in most cases it will be, but I think there might be some cases where if it's if it's too long or they're really just not active, then we might allow that IIT.
Yeah, I think it's kind of going to staff judgment there.
Just to be clear, like the reason why Harbor's IIT failed is because procedurally he did it in the wrong order. So if he had asked for the IIT using the current rules or the previous rules that we have, if Arbor just submitted the IIT before he expanded, staff would not have any reason to contact Broken. I think it would be courteous for Harbor to ask Broken, but I think we've definitely approved IITs where there might have been a way to contact person, but we approved them anyway.
I just thought of one pretty obvious thing. If the original owner is banned, you don't have to contact them.
Oh, I think that's pretty obvious. That's
Yeah.
I think we had actually clarified that a while ago whenever we were around banned players and asset transfers.
It's pretty obvious, but I think it's worth putting in there anyway.
Yeah, right, Kitty. We already clarified that a little while ago too, whenever everything else had happened.
Yeah. Okay.
Same motto.
So sorry. What is left to figure out on this thing? Like, are we still arguing the 1 week, 2 week thing, or can we just
go
go
a
with
buffer of 1 to 2 weeks? Is kind of like the range that we were fine with.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it'll be like debated, but 2 weeks is for sure not for limit.
Can we? So, in terms of the wording of the rule, where is that going to go? Because I want to make sure that's specific here.
I can change the part and given a reasonable time frame to should be given a maximum of 14 days within 14 days. If we went 2 weeks or within 7 days.
I think the minimum is the more important thing here, because I can think of a situation where someone submits an IAT and they've only asked them 3 days ago, for example.
Yeah, I could. Oh, actually, I could do an IAT request from us attempt to establish contact through all possible means before requesting IAT within at least a week before the staff meeting.
Can it be more like, the thing is the problem? I think to make it more flexible is a week by when the staff meeting happens. How about that?
I'm sorry, a week what?
A week by the time the staff meeting happens. Because if you say before, that means, so based on your wording, that means the person has to ask the person a whole week before the meeting, then wait. But then when do they submit the IAT, right?
Mm-hmm.
They have to wait until, did they necessarily have to wait until they get approval, or could they just submit the IAT now, say that they've asked at that date, but then by the time the meeting happens, if there's no response till then more than a week has already passed, right?
Yeah, Skelly had actually mentioned that in this comment.
Yeah. So
that's what I had been assuming. Sorry.
Yeah. That's the sort of scenario, Kitty. Yeah, basically, yeah. If the person does respond after, then he could retract it or figure out some other arrangement, right?
Yes. Are we fine with allowing that?
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I think we will be expecting some IATs. Maybe if the person gets back to you, you might have to resend it. Imperial says, what about extending the deadline for IATs to 1 week before the meeting and then the original send staff is responsible?
We already have, that's already within the topic deadline.
Yeah. The original can always submit and can send a response at any time before the meeting.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask for that wording again, that way I can get that in my minutes for the week part. Because I have, it's in the minutes, but if you want to amend it, Frumple, for the part you mentioned.
I have to think about wording myself.
We both have to think of our words.
God asks, how does this work for IIT counter proposals? If will one person not receive respond, allow others to submit IITs for the same answer? That's a good question.
I would say yes.
I mean, I
If
think
they're
the
not
point is,
responding to if they're not responding to one person, they're unlikely to respond to others.
so I will actually kind of add an example of this. Hermes bus. I got in contact with Modern because he was like the person that get it next, but Modern did not respond to Cody. Like he in the sense of not getting in contact, in the sense of challenging. If they don't, I was like, just in that owner contact. Yeah, I don't know about challenges.
I think it's unreasonable to require challengers to also contact the owner. I think that's overkill. I think maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think that might be it. Right? Because I think it's assumed that the original IIT proposer made their effort.
Yeah, the main thing I was trying to hit with this proposal is to make sure the owner of the original part is contacted, that their stuff's going to IIT.
The reason why we want I don't know if Cece want to say anything about this, but I think the reason is to ensure that the IIT is valid, right?
Yeah. Because I know I had noticed with past IITs that the owners don't like what's going to happen with it, and they intervene themselves.
Yep, that's happened several
because
times.
because somebody told them, and they weren't really paying attention. Somebody was like, "Hey, this is getting IIT'd," and they're like, "Oh, I don't like that." Came back and did it something themselves. This makes sure that the owner is part of that conversation. That's the original intent. Now, as far as challenges go, I don't really think requiring everyone to contact, but I mean, I'm more of a sense of respect is a thing, and having everyone is kind of nice.
No, I think it's assumed that the original IIT proposer made the contact.
Right.
I think it's fine. I think challenges are fine the way based on that. I think challenges are fine. I think they're fine the way they are. Like people can challenge them if they want to. Basically, if they want to propose an alternate solution to what's been proposed, right? And then again, the original owner can intervene at any time if they say no to all or any of them. Then
yeah, but we're not going to require them to communicate.
I think that's overkill. AutoZS says, what I'm saying is, should the person requesting an IT just ask if they mind if they are fine with the property being IITs, or the specific kinds of their IIT in which you would still need every counter proposal? Also, I'm not following here, Otto. I'm sorry. I think you've lost me.
I guess, can you give some context, Otto, or like an example? Oh, Otto wants to speak, if that's okay.
Sure. Let's do that.
Otto, I clicked dismiss. Do it again. There we go.
It's invite to speak.
Yeah, I clicked the wrong button. There you go, Otto.
So what I meant is, what is the person that's trying to IIT a property, what are they supposed to ask the original owner? Because if they're just asking, are you fine with your property being IIT'd, that's a very different question. Are you fine with a specific plan I'm submitting? Which, in case, that might be denied by the original owner, but a challenging request that someone makes that might come in might satisfy the owner in that sense, which creates a situation where you really can't have the challengers not be asking the original owner as well. I don't think it's desirable to have everyone ask the original owner if there's challenges, because that will just spam the original owner of the town to an extent that really isn't helpful.
So if I'm getting you correctly, you're saying that the original proposer could say either can this thing be IAT'd, or they can be more specific and say I want to IAT for this purpose. Is that what you're trying to
that's what I'm saying.
And then some counter proposals might say, oh, I want it for some other purpose, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I don't know if this is true. I think if an owner is at least informed of that there are things going to be IAT'd in some way, I would assume that they'd be starting paying attention to the IAT, and they'll also see the counter proposals, right?
I think it should then be stated quite explicitly that that's all that's expected with eye contact, because if people actually do start giving responses about what they want to do, owners might swoop in and respond immediately to that with no based on those specific proposals, or they might agree with the proposal from someone else. It's a situation where there's a gap between would they let this be IAT'd, or would they let this be IAT'd for this specific purpose, which can change in, for example, situations where there's someone proposing to IAT to just maintain and give back the company in cases of the owner returning, or someone just trying to completely take over the company for other purposes. There might be differences there in the answer.
So Otto, I think that's okay. I think that's fine if the original owner wants to chime in about what they would prefer. That's within their right. We'll treat it as a comment on the IAT.
I saw with Kalis actually, whenever originally before they transferred their shares to Skelly, was they actually were saying we would like Skelly to take Kalis, and we were going to treat that as comments before they were like, oh, actually just going to transfer the stuff to Skelly.
Okay, I don't think
I was trying to give an
point
example.
across then.
I mean, in that case,
let me try this again.
In that case, what is to stop the original owner sending an email to staff and just transferring it to whoever's proposal they like the most? Well, arguably,
the question is, do they know about that proposal?
Again, I think it's fair to assume that it is their responsibility. At that point, they should know that something's happening with their thing. They might not know exactly, but I think it is their responsibility to keep track of that.
I think
they've been informed at least of. There's no way they've been informed of least of something's happening or someone wants it, and then we also have the agenda that explicitly states what are the publicly what are that proposal, that original proposal, and all the counter proposals. So, I think it's fair to assume that person will keep track of that. I don't think we can do anything more than that.
And alternatively, what I was just saying, what if the response is, for example, let's say IAT a project by a player named Sheep. Not just saying Sheep because that's the first word that came up in my head. If that person is being offline for so many months and I give them my complete proposal of what I want to do with that IAT and they say no, that response would go back into the GSM. But that response of no to my request doesn't necessarily mean that they will always be against their property being IAT'd, which can actually block counter proposals from coming in because of the no. Well, he might be fine with the counter proposals that could come in.
That's fine. Like if the original product has an opinion that says, I don't like this particular counter proposal, that's fine. Like we will take that into consideration when we evaluate the IAT.
I think
at which case you would still need the challenging person to also ask about their counter proposal specifically, because they have not indicated whether or not they're fine with the IAT itself at that point. That's why I was saying it should be dependent on what question that should be asked here to the.
I don't think. Okay, Otto. I think I see. I was try to reword it that way. Make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that from your interpretation, you're saying that the requester needs to have approval to IAT.
I'm saying they need to. I'm saying I think they should be asking whether or not they're open for their property to be IAT'd, not be asking about their specific plan to the person the original owner of the property, basically.
I
And the
why-
responsibility for seeing what the specific plans are would be on the owner, like to look at the GSM agenda. Because if you let them ask specific questions about the specific plans that they want IAT with in that context, you're going to get different answers that might not be reflective of every IAT request that's going to come in for the property without the owner realizing that there might be more requests that are different. And
how do we enforce that?
Response.
How do we enforce that, though, Otto? That's a question.
I'm not. Well, okay, so how do I? I'm sorry. I just came out of bed. I had a nap, and I'm not quite there yet.
Question, but because just think about it from our perspective, like your basic, yes, it's either you have to ask whether they're okay with being IAT. There's a difference between having asked if it's okay being IAT or the specific plan that the original proposer gave. We can't really control that from our perspective. Like,
well, what about allowing both, but requiring the first one at least?
Doesn't the second one imply the first?
The second one implies the first, but the first doesn't imply the second.
There's a difference of wording.
With
my proposal, I'm just saying to tell them. I'm not really saying that you need their approval. I'm just saying that we need to tell them. Versus, I think God's just gave one just now by saying that you need to that you're asking the owner for them to transfer it to you.
Basically, you need to tell them versus you need to ask them for approval on your specific plan. But if you ask them for approval on the specific plan, you will still need to have told them. Because the second applies to the first, but the first doesn't apply to the second. If the second happened, the first has always happened. But if the first happens, the second doesn't necessarily have to happen.
I love these logic.
I'm lost, honestly.
No, I think I can see where Otto's going with this. Yeah.
Or more like I don't see the issue, to be really honest.
Gods did give a different wording in the meeting channel too.
I'm trying to read it, but like
again, end of the day, the owner could if the owner cares that much, they can send us an email saying hi. They can send us an email saying hi. They could send an email saying hi. I'd like to transfer it to X player who would otherwise have submitted an IAT.
Yeah, so the original intent was to notify the original owner. It's up to the owner to do what they want with that notification. We're not saying I wasn't really trying to say they need approval. I was just saying the owner needs to be notified that this is going on, because that was a problem I saw, was that people were not being notified.
Notified an IAT was happening in general.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to say. It should be made clear that the notification should just be about that the IAT is happening.
Like
more is allowed. But not
the point is, you're arguing whether it should be notified in general or the plan. The problem is we can't enforce that. Anyone can tell someone another person their plan.
I'm not saying that's a problem. I'm saying it should be made clear what is actually needed here and what isn't, because I would interpret the rule as written originally as to require people to notify them of their IAT plans and not that there's an IAT happening. Just that. Because that would be a lot more than just saying notify of an IAT happening.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we're restricting strong because I would assume that if someone is submitting an IAT, if they're informing an owner, the original owner, you probably want to tell them, yes, I want to IAT this, and I want to IAT this. You want to be as detailed as possible, right?
Well, that might be true. There might also be that the response to the idea of being IAT'd and their response to the specific request is different.
It could be that's fine too.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm seeing it. Like, do you want us to require them to say the whole plan? I guess because I can see like if they just say it's gonna get IAT'd, don't say the plan. Like,
It was more that exactly the opposite I was suggesting. That you should always be required to ask the question about whether they're fine with the property being IAT'd in general, separate from the specific plan that's being requested. If there's a specific plan being coordinated, because of the implications, only having a specific plan be responded to compared to other counter proposals that might come in is problematic.
Yeah, Gods is requested to talk to.
Gods, yeah, let's bring Gods in here.
Hi guys. Not sure if you've been reading in the meeting channel, but for me, I think if you're going to be contacting the original owner anyway, I think it would be simpler if you just ask the other person for them to transfer it to you, rather than notifying about an IAT. Because that way, if they are responsive, it can be dealt with outside of a staff meeting, which is going to make it a lot easier for you guys. I mean, in terms of wording, I've put a suggestion there, but just say you must ask them for to directly transfer the item. If they don't respond within a week, at that point you may submit an IAT.
I like that. That's a lot simpler.
That's a lot simpler.
That's a lot simpler.
Oh, I can't believe we didn't think of that.
I mean, honestly,
Thank
that
God.
makes it a lot simpler because it's like, if they give permission for an IAT, why not just transfer it via email anyway?
Yeah, I guess that's kind of what I was trying to go at as well. So, and you phrased it much better, Gons.
I suppose the other thing is if there are extenuating circumstances, so if they're just being obtrusive, so if they're saying no, you then might also be able to submit it if you believe there are extenuating circumstances. But for the majority of items, they'll either not respond or they'll just be happy to transfer.
Okay, given that Kitty's requested to speak, he has some addition to that, so let's see. Kitty, go ahead.
I was about to say, as minutes wise, are we just taking what Gods has said fully, like what he said in meeting live? I'm trying to get the wording here.
Well, let's get Kitty's opinion first because he wants to add something onto that.
Yeah.
How do I add person?
There's invite to speak.
Yeah, invite.
Send an invite. There we go.
Okay. Anyway,
Nice.
yeah, I'm for Gods' wording, but I think there should also be an addition that you shouldn't, in addition to asking for the transfer, you should also have to make it clear to the person that if they don't respond, you're going to send an IAT request. Because otherwise, someone who isn't following the April 2021 GSM results, they could just get a message that's like, hi, can I have your town? And they could just not respond to it, not knowing that by doing that they're allowing an IAT. So it could just be like, you have to ask for the town, but also to just like add in your message that if they don't respond, there'll be an IAT.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Gods actually had a little part of that, so we can just say if they say no or no response is given.
I don't think that was Kitty's point. I think Kitty's point was more along the lines of you must state that if they don't respond, then it will be submitted as an IAT.
Yeah,
they
just
need to know that
just because otherwise they might not be aware of the process and they might not be aware that you asking them is the prerequisite for an IAT.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Feel free to unify me from speaking, by the way. This other solution also solves no problem. So,
how do we uninvite?
I think you just move yourself, I believe. Or...
Wait, can I? No, I don't. No, I can't.
There's a button that says move to audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we in favor of Gods' full wording he just put in meeting live?
Also.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with that.
Yep. Don't worry about the auto. We're new to the system too. I'm not sure how it works either.
Yeah, this is my first time using it.
It's good that Discord have brought it in. It's just there are always teething problems, either on the techie side or the people side.
Yeah, I'm in favor of Gods' word. The last wording that the most recent wording that he's put in there.
Okay, I was too. So I've copied it to the minutes. The question now goes back to 500 rule. Are we fine with applying the same time to the 500 block rule?
Yeah, I think for simplicity's sake, if we have it consistently a week.
Oh wait, never mind. Go back to what I just said.
Yes, Otto. If the person says no, like I think we're going to add also Gods's wording. If the person thinks there's extenuating circumstances, such as, for example, like the person is technically inactive, like has been just been joining briefly every 3 months or so, then yes, you can still submit the IT, including that reasoning, right?
Let me add that. That was underneath it, another message that Gods had. So
I'm trying to look for the stage moderators thing, but I can't add it permissions to staff, which is weird.
That's
Oh wait, no, hold on. I think I figured it out. Okay, there we go. You're all stage moderators, as it should be.
Wow. Does that cover that, Otto? Okay, cool. So now we can circle back to 500 block rule because we mentioned we would go back to that.
Yeah. I think for consistency's sake, yeah, 1 week.
Is that us done with 5C then?
Yep.
Are there any further objections on 5C or the 500 block rule? Any other comments?
Yeah, we're saying 500 block rule. They have a week. Like they've got a week to let them know.
Going once.
Oh, Kitty won the final ruling on it.
So the final ruling on 500 blocks is you must make a reasonable effort to notify the player before you start building. Just like the IATs, that in terms of reasonable, we're thinking a week there, a minimum. But yeah, just so it matches with the IAT one, since they are fairly similar cases, or at least adjacent. All these rules for my cursor. Oh boy.
I'm sorry that I caused a very long topic.
Oh no, most of my topics are here. It's not just you.
I was hoping this would be quick, and then it got a lot of stuff out of it.
Don't worry about that, Otto. I was just trying to. Yeah.
Words are difficult. Don't worry.
What's up, Kitty?
If they do respond in a week, then again, remember, if they're within 300, 500, they cannot deny you building there. They have to. It was assumed that you then communicate and figure out what's the best way to accommodate.
At that point, if they refuse communication, then that's on them.
Or if they say flat out no and you can't build there, then that's not what the rule says. So bring that up with staff at that point. So
I think Kitty's just saying like, are you? But if they do respond, you're required to work with them.
Get along.
Yeah,
Please.
It seems the answer to that is yes, there, Kitty.
The conflicts I've had to deal with, I've seen a lot of not getting along, and then finding out that the whole conflict was not supposed to be there in the first place. So
yeah,
there's that.
Communication.
Okay, unless there's anything else, let's move on to 5D.
Finally.
Go away. Okay, so I was writing this while live. But it's similar. This one is similar to, well, it's kind of similar to CC's in a sense, but it's for events. One thing I've noticed is some people, I like that people are trying to run events and trying to make, like, they're taking the initiative to do so. But my worry is, they're writing all these proposals, getting all this set up, and then finding out that no one's actually wants to participate or are unable to participate. And so what this proposal asks is, if you're going to submit an event, you should do some basic amount of work to just see what the interest in that event is in the first place. See how many people will attend, basically. And hopefully, the intent is, if you find that there isn't enough interest, then you wouldn't submit the proposal. But yeah. In terms of absentee ballots, Chief Kyle and Skelly said yes, but Volp said no.
Did you have any comments? I'm curious what Volp said.
Checking the comments. Okay, he just says he's kind of iffy on it. He says we should encourage it but not require it, is what he's saying. Which it says such a thing may be harsh to newer players attempting their events. Well, if the event doesn't happen in the first place because of low attendance, I mean,
in my opinion, if anything, newer players especially should do it to get an idea of what people are wanting to go for and what people would be interested in.
Yeah, I would think also, because failed events also discourage people from doing more. So having an interest poll kind of helps make sure they have a successful event and keep doing events. That's what I would argue.
I think it's important that people get at least a sense of whether the thing they're running is actually wanted.
Yeah,
and I'd rather they know earlier rather than later. So. God says, could you use Yoshi's head of events role and require them to discuss them with him?
I think that puts a bit too much tassel on Yoshi, to be honest.
And frankly, Yoshi is very busy at the moment, so I'm not sure if he'd have the time to do that at all anyway.
Discuss the results of the poll?
No, just basically use Yoshi as like a, and he's done this before with some events, like just to help basically advise them on whether the event will be successful or not, or anything they could improve on. That's what
It's a nice idea. I just don't think it's going to be practical. I mean, in terms of gauging interest, I think we discussed this briefly last meeting. It can be anything. A Discord poll. In a Discord poll and event announcements would probably be. I know it's perhaps not the best, or it's something quick that's accessible for people to say, "Oh, who would be interested in werewolf?" Oh yeah, I am. Just quick react on the poll.
Mm-hmm.
If you put a poll in event, London says if you put a poll in event announcements, that's good enough too. Like, I'll also say, like, if you just talk to people, if you get a sense that there's several people who want to do this event with you, I mean, that works too. Like,
yeah,
all we're asking is a basic level of it, like just a little bit of work, just to see, do people want this, or will people attend this?
Yeah, I'm fine with it as it is.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Okay. If there are no objections, then we'll add that to the policies and procedures page. Okay. 5E, Sasha submitted this topic. I did respond to it, just trying the technical details. basically he wants to disable spawning of fish mobs, mainly because they're getting in the way of constructing things underwater, which is understandable. But my response is to pull this off, you need another plugin. And when it comes to new plugins, I tend to be very cautious because every new plugin you add is more maintenance, more overhead possibly, could introduce bugs or other issues. But I do know there's at least one plugin that just disables natural spawning of mobs if you want that to happen. I believe there's also some concern that, especially some fish, I think they cause lag in some scenarios, but I haven't been able to experiment with that.
You can. Oh, my apologies, AP.
Sorry, I've not had much experience with it, but one of the big things with fish, which is a big annoyance, is that if you do the butcher command around you, they all respawn the very next tick. So particularly when there are low amounts of players on the server, it's very difficult to get rid of fish from.
Yeah, if you want to see how many fish naturally spawn, just go run out to the beach and take a dip in the water here.
Okay, just to address some questions. Panson's asked, isn't it possible to reduce spawn rate of fish without a new plugin like on Essentials? As far as Essentials does not have that capability, as far as I know. I did also check the configuration for Paper and Spigot. There are some things to address to adjust mob spawning rates in general for like broad categories like animals, mobs, that sort of thing. But for specific types of mobs, no. There's no such thing. Yeah, like it sounds like based on just that reasoning, if it's just bothering you to construct things, I don't think it's a big enough reason to install this plugin. However, if it is causing lag, if we can prove that might be a better reason actually, because I know there have been instances where the fish just keep on spawning so much. It's affected TPS a bit, right?
Yeah, but right now I don't really see conclusive data that fish is causing lag. It might be worth revisiting at another time, but I just don't see the need right now.
Yeah, if they're causing lag, we should do something, but just because they're annoying you is not a reason to add a whole new plugin.
Right. I know there's some people mentioned it'll destroy aquariums and all that sort of stuff, so I think it's pretty. Unless there are any other objections, I think this topic will not be approved.
Nice idea, but the costs don't outweigh the benefit. The benefits don't outweigh the costs.
Racer's asking, what if we try the broad carry? That means all animals. That means I could reduce the spawn rate of all animals, which I don't know if that may not even solve the problem of fish, because fish tend to seem to have a higher spawn rate than other animals anyway. So, and yeah, also answering Panson's question. I would rather do this if we're going to do this, it would need testing on beta. Like, it needs to be looked at.
Kitty brings up a good point. Isn't Zeta's lag mainly more chunk-based than entity-based right now?
That's correct, Kitty. Yeah, you're correct. But entities do contribute. The most obvious ones is fish have been reported to be ones. Bees are a big one too. Like if someone spawns a whole bunch of bees, that does contribute to lag. So, yeah. Okay, so we're denying this proposal. Let's move on.
6A.
A8 extension.
Oh, hey.
Hi, Vicky.
Hi, yes. Proposal. Here it is.
I think I'll be honest. I think we need to discuss this and 6J kind of in the same, seeing as they're both in very similar region, both in the same region.
What is 6J?
Gotta get to it.
It's the
that
Cody
Cody?
Road proposal.
The the A892.
Isn't 6J contingent on 6A?
No, it's not really.
Huh.
Well, I mean, it's like they don't interchange off of each other because Cody's proposal goes off of the end in Vegeta.
Okay, so the current.
Okay.
End.
Okay, so they're not connected at all. They're not related.
Well, I mean, it's not really. I wouldn't call it contingent, but it's like okay. The A8 currently ends in Vegeta, right?
Yeah.
My proposal goes back a little ways, kind of like when the A4 was extended past Marblegate, how
Right.
the continuation was branched off of that road, and then we're calling the rest of what is the current road something else.
I think in that case, if we approve this, we call the existing section between the A8 and Vegeta part of the A892.
That is a possibility, and I remember Cody talking about that. But
like we did with the highway into downtown Shillerton, which I can't remember the name of right now.
Okay.
the A6, or A51, now the A6.
Sorry. Regardless of that, though, can we look at the A8 independently?
Yeah.
So, is the map that you provided like an accurate representation, like with the curves and all that?
Yeah, it's fairly accurate with where everything is. I don't intend to diverge a significant amount from where it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought this up with Vicky and DMs about mainly around Norwest. Mainly the interesting approval that Modern wanted with the road between A51 and A52. The current stance of Norwest is A52 is the station in the middle of nowhere between Norwest and Colorado City. I'm not sure whether Modern is using this as a way to claim A52 or not. And that's what I was trying to clarify with Vicky on, of why that was contingent on him for approval. Because apparently he wanted that before he would approve the A8 through Norwest.
But one other slight concern around that region is just how hilly it is.
Yes.
I assume that's something that you'd deal with in time.
Yeah, I'd have to look at it, but it'd probably be mostly just viaducts or along the mountains. Because I don't like highways being tunneled so much. But I think having viaducts along the mountains is probably going to be the best bet, and I think that is more realistic than just making a bunch of tunnels, and you get to enjoy the scenery more too.
Definitely. Nobody wants to be stuck in a tunnel for God knows how many miles.
Yeah, it's I'm good with the route. I mainly want to point that out about Norwest because that was my only really area of concern.
Absentee ballots, Kyle, Chief, and Volt all approve this. So,
yeah,
are we approving?
Yeah, this seems fine.
Okay, 6A is approved then. Go to town, Volt or Vicky.
They're not the same people.
I misspoke.
As far as you know, wink.
Oh, anyway. 6B, HVT wants to bypass a bunch of towns again.
Bunch
of towns. Actually, a lot of towns.
Yeah, Blue Rail go burr.
I don't see any problem with these.
Is there a reason?
Yeah.
Just on the second image, is there a reason why it does that weird diversion to the west?
HVT is here, so he can't answer. He can answer.
So like a station in my way.
Oh yeah, this is paired with the 4K waiver as well.
Oh, Los Angeles?
Okay.
I believe you're right, Kitty. I remember him mentioning that.
High HVT.
No, he's not paying attention, is he?
Why does your curve? Like, why does your rail curve?
I'm trying to avoid town directly south of Marcus Bay.
Oh, I see.
Is
that
there a
Not
reason?
IAT Bull? Or what?
No, yeah, they're owned by a few.
That's Caillou's
But they
town.
go through. Well,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, Otto said they refuse warp rail.
They
Interesting.
there's like 3 towns directly south of Marcus Bay,
All right then.
and I think they're all like owned by Fjord. I tried talking to Fjord, he was like, no.
Oh,
I can see how that can be a challenge for warp rail.
So I decided to go around.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, this seems fine.
All right.
So how about the 4K waiver? Does that get approved as well?
I think it's
has it
already
been
been
2 days yet?
approved. I think it's no, it's actually
I
It's
believe
actually
you
time-
told me
time-
that
time-
you had to, that we were holding it because it was linked to the inactive town bypass.
I don't know. You might be talking about a
No.
different one, but it is 48 hours now, I believe. But we want to prove it now.
My other one issue, it seems like the tunnel goes directly under the town I'm on now. It's in a similar style as Los Angeles. Safetyville?
Yes, I asked Yoshi for permission for that.
Okay, fair enough.
Actually, that was Chief who told me that, but
Skill. Okay.
Okay, well. Well, this sounds good to me.
I mean, it seems by looks of it, we're gonna prove this, and the 4K is good. So
Unless there are any objections, this is all going to be approved. Blue Rail go Burr.
yep. So much
Okay.
better respond to that original email.
Blue Rail go choo choo.
It's electric. Blue Rail go clunk 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 clunk.
Okay, moving on to 6C. This one, I could never understand what exactly, but yeah, a slight reroute of the A980 by Sasha.
Again,
Is it just moving it downward?
It
yes.
looks like it.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking Skelly about in staff was about the reroute.
ignore
Yeah, I
the
mean,
text that says requires IAT. I don't know why that was written there. They just got permission from the owner of that town to route it through there, though.
If he's got permission, then seems fine.
Yeah.
Go on ahead.
Yep.
All right, 6C is approved. Moving on to 6D. Northwestern Canals, this was considered at the ISM, or at least, or a larger proposal, I should say.
Yeah, Noah cut
our-
it down.
Yeah, it was originally 5 canals, but he's cut it down to 2 around Arc Lake.
Okay. This seems a lot more reasonable.
Well, Arc Lake he wants to rename Lake 40 to Arc Lake.
It's also reasonable.
Well,
Yeah.
what towns are on there? Did they approve of that rename?
I honestly, it slipped my mind to ask him about that when I spoke to him earlier today.
Because that's our normal procedure.
Are
for
there
renames.
any towns on the lake? There seems to be like one settlement in the Dynmap image.
I'm going to read out some of the responses from the absentee ballots are mixed. Chief wants conditional approval. He says he claims he has seen examples, but I don't fully trust him. I would say conditional pending a review of his canal design and working with a staff member to complete the project.
Well, I spoke to him today, of course, as my comment says, and basically, at first he was gonna make it look like an upside, like a V, where the slopes are literally 1-to-1 on the walls, and then I had to tell him that canals usually make a U shape, because apparently he got the idea of a V shape from looking at a canal in Pixel.
is asking, why change the name of the lake? Does he have a town there?
There aren't. So the town's nearest. Looking on the convenient visualization of the town list. Towns around there are Las Playas and Holtville, with the town of Ardman a little bit further out.
Las Playas sits on that lake, right?
Las Playas is on the lake north of it.
But it's close enough for close enough to be relevant. So,
And there's no indication Noah's who owns Las Playas again?
Las Playas Frog. If you're looking in the thing I sent in staff link, that has all the towns on.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I can't look at that right now. But yeah. So do we want to require Noah to talk to the towns nearby first before proceeding? Well, at the very least, renaming the lake without their permission is a no-no.
Yeah,
Right.
the rename needs definitely their permission on that.
Okay, but aside from that,
The canals themselves look fine.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're reasonably short.
I don't have a problem with him building these canals as long as they're to a standard of,
Do we want to go with Chief's suggestion?
I think
Yeah.
that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Let's designate a point person for him to talk to.
Should we designate that person now?
Probably, I would say probably Chief. But
Okay.
Chief is not here, but because Chief was the one who raised the initial questions.
Okay.
Unless someone here would like to do it.
Has anybody here got much experience with building canals? Aside from Chief.
I felt like the one little short thing, but that's not really a full-size canal.
Okay. Let's talk to Chief and see if he'll do that. Be the supervisor role on this canal, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And go from there. Okay. So conditionally approved then, based on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
But then the rename. Do we just want to deny that for now until he's talked to people around?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
you can submit that as a different proposal.
Sure. Okay. All right. Moving on to 6E, B417 reroute from A410 to Bobberton. I think Avanish and Kingstake were bothering me about this one. Their original proposal is what you see in the first image. They want to move the road further south a little bit. And because it's a change, technically they have to, I think that it's a pretty significant change. I think they need to repropose it. So
I would beg to differ, but I mean diversions of that magnitude happen not insignificantly.
It's apparently because of terrain issues.
Yeah, I checked the area around, and there's like a sand hill / mountain thing right where they wanted to connect to the A road.
I see.
In that case, I don't see an issue with them moving it south, despite it still serving the same location, because it would probably result in it being a little easier to work with.
Yeah, they built
Yeah, I don't care if they want to move it.
They built something along the entire route anyways from Barberton to the A road, and parts of it are complete already if you want to see it.
I mean, I don't need to, at this point, I think moving it south is fine, considering they are trying to not destroy the landscape.
Yeah,
And
we
they've
tell them
already
to be
built
mindful
most
to
of the
do it.
road that they proposed. But I'm fine approving it. They probably should have asked before building it, but
Well, to their They actually haven't. I don't believe they've built on it since Frumple last told Kingsnake to stop the construction.
I think
Okay.
I think part of it was I think they were confused of whether they needed permission or they need to repropose. I think that's why you might have seen them start construction.
I see.
But
I-
once I clarified with them, then yeah.
This act, honestly, did this need to be reproposed? This doesn't look like it's that significant.
I told them they should repropose it. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a road. Everyone's cool with it, then I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
okay, approved. 6F B34 from Prismarine to Carava. How do you pronounce that?
Caravaca.
Bacha? I don't know.
Oh, is this his retroactive proposal that's already
Yeah.
built?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, all right. Should have gotten it before, but we already
Fine.
discussed that. So
Reasonably short,
Yeah,
even just
fine
taking it
with
on its own, reasonably short proposal. It's the route is very detailed, almost as if it's always already there.
Yeah. Thanks
It's
for finally
fine.
submitted in fresco.
it was fine.
Okay. Objections. This is 6F is approved.
Objection.
Okay, 6G B354 from B38 to Hannibal.
This was
Proposed by
submitted
Jonathan
last
930.
GSM.
Yes, I remember this proposal.
Or ISM, sorry.
We required the labeling on the original proposal was not good, so there are now some labels now. And he also provided an example of the road that he's going to build, so that's good.
A little bit basic, but it's not horrendous.
They're a new member, so
I have questions about. I don't like that for a B road. I think that's a little simple.
Keep in mind, just so you know, we had concerns of whether the road was a 4-lane road because it was going through mountains.
Mhm.
But considering it's just, it seems like one of those more rural B roads that should just probably be 2 lanes. So, yeah, like maybe if it's this basic, that might be okay. I don't know.
That's fair.
I mean, at least clarified it 2 lanes, so I'm fine with it.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would have
I'm
been
fine with it.
I would have been fine with it either way.
Yeah, this is fine. It serves their towns.
And
And plus, I think last time Racer mentioned he was helping with it, so got
Yeah.
other people work with it.
yeah,
Okay. Any objections? Okay, moving on. That's approved. 6H has been retracted by Kitty. 6I, B38 extension to the B3354, and Benningbury by Racer.
And both
Isn't this the same area as the last proposal?
yes, but this is
intersect.
an extension of the B38 to where the B354 is going to intersect it
The
on
full-
the
Okay.
western side.
the full route's on the proposal above.
Yeah.
I think it's
this is
fine.
fine. If we're proposing the other one, if we're accepting the other one, this is fine too.
Racer says,
Yeah,
I will
that's a
guide
pretty
him a
extension.
wee bit. So that's appreciated, Racer.
Yeah. Racers is like
Awesome.
pretty tiny extension. So, given you built it earlier, I'm fine with
Yeah, this
this.
is super short. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Approved. 6J. This one's a bit. Yeah. Okay, that's the one we were talking about before. Cody wants to do stuff.
Extend what he's already done, basically.
Yeah.
Are these 2 different roads?
Yes, he's
I'm a little
extending
confused.
it in 2 different ways. One way is from its current northern terminus at Winterville east to that area on Nordica, and the other is from where it currently ends to around Vegeta. It would help if he made a map that had labels that weren't handwritten.
Considering Cody is a graphic designer, I'm not happy that he's decided to use this amount of effort for a map.
Inkscape. Inkscape
Nordica.
is free. Vector graphics are your friend.
Even
Nordic, there's no
paint.net
evidence.
would have worked.
No. My point is, Cody's capable of making things look good. He just decided, yeah. So,
Regardless of the quality of the map, it looks fine and appears to have any necessary permissions.
Yeah, with Nordica, there's no evidence of this town. I actually avoided this intentionally on Arctic Line because the fact there's no details on this town. It just exists in the middle of nowhere. Where it ends, he's asking kind of to bypass it. Which, given that nobody's ever touched Nordica or even worried about it, I'm fine with the extension myself.
It looks fine to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's already prepping Willow for the roads through it.
I think if going along with what said earlier, I think if considering it meets the A8, what is now the A8, I think rather than naming that spur A808 as in Vicky's proposal, if we just say, okay, that whole spur is the 892.
That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Okay.
Right.
And objections approved. Okay, there are no event proposals, which is interesting. Moving on to IATs. 8A. Missa Solemnis for Trivio. Missa, just so you know, Missa proposed this at the last ISM, was denied because there was not enough detail. Oh, wait, no. He didn't, or
Modern.
Or he or she. They didn't contact Modern. So, yeah.
They said they did.
And they said that Modern was fine with it, which therefore I don't see an issue with this.
Yeah, if our issue was the last time that he didn't contact Modern, now that he has, and I don't see an issue. It's
They're in
fine.
the proximity of Modern's town, too. So,
Mhm.
Yep.
Going ahead.
No objections? Okay,
Fine with me.
approved. 8B is invalid because, well, you all know that's the story about that. Oh, boy. 8C. Yeah, Sasha wanted a certain plot in Central City.
Right.
Those are some grainy screenshots.
Yeah,
I know. I've seen that plot before, and I haven't seen anyone work on it in a really long time. Might as well give it to someone.
Well,
I'm
that's
trying to
the
find the
A1
plot
up
number.
left, isn't it?
Sorry, Vicky, what was that?
That's the A1 nearby it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I found it. It's plot 99. Love balloons.
Yeah, actually, Sasha asked me about it 2 months ago, so we only got to it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am absolutely okay with giving this over because it's been sitting like that for a very long time.
Yeah, in a rather prominent part of the city.
Yeah,
it's in terms of in the central directory, it doesn't have any owner or anything listed. So,
and there's no block data if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
I'm fine with it.
Okay, unless there are objections, this is approved. 8D has been retracted by Pretzel after several discussions there. And then 8E is invalid because, as an example, like when you submit an IT and then the owners are informed, they decide to transfer it explicitly to someone else. So there's an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
The last IT is 8F, 10% of Oceanic Langus Airways for Cody. He wants to take Max Stewart S's share.
Fine. Been on
Why
that
just
for 11
10%?
months.
He already owns everything else from the company.
Yeah.
He's just trying to get the rest of it back from Max Stewart.
Yeah, that's sure.
That's fine.
It's how they split it up with the when Max Stewart had an airline, how they merged it into OLA. There was history, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to double check the. Okay, there's one denial. I'm going to just look that up quickly. Sorry. I hate navigating this.
I remember from airline history, it was like partly whenever Max Stewart had an airline and it got merged into Oceanic Langus because that's how the name happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle has expressed his denial for this IT, the reasoning is very short. Like Cody has not demonstrated a need for it. His IAT proposal is very bare bones. It's not very compelling. Just true. There's no reasoning here.
There does. I don't think there needs to be.
Sure, but like
of the company
it's
would like to own
10% of his
100%.
own airline. Like
Yeah,
from a player that has been offline for almost a year. I
yeah.
don't see what's wrong.
I don't see what's wrong either, because if it was a different company and like he was just trying to share grab, fine, but it's his own company.
It seems like he's just trying to clean up a random thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry, Kyle. I guess everyone else says yes. So approved. And that's it.
Cool. 154.
I need to actually do
Not
that
too bad.
rewording for the declaration stuff.
I was expecting it to take longer, so I am glad that it was short.
We did get
What
stuck
about
on a
Ken?
couple topics. I mean, yeah.
The latter half, the latter half went like a rocket, but
Yes, questions time.
Yes.
oh no.
Wait, do we do the trustee stuff first or the questions first?
I think it's
can't
trustee meeting is immediately. Oh no.
Please indicate that you would like to. Okay, we can do the questions first. I don't think it matters.
I really
Yeah,
don't
let's do
care.
questions first, actually, because since it's fresh on everyone's mind. So if you have any questions about any of the previous topics or anything else, please use we're using the stage channel. You can click a button that says request to speak, and we'll let you speak.
Keep me trying to.
And for our viewers on MBS, if you have a question that you would like us to ask the staff, you can send it right here in our YouTube live chat. Please include your Minecraft username. We're only accepting questions from MRT members.
Kitty has requested a question.
Right. Invite sent.
Hello.
Hi, Kitty.
So I'd like to this is pretty quick, but for the new IAT rules, could there be a clarification that also applies to inactive town bypasses?
I think we should apply it to bypasses, yes.
They're within, yeah. It's like an IAT, though it doesn't have its own category in GSM, but we put it in transport project.
And they kind of just originated from the IAT procedure, but just without actually asking for ownership. So it's basically an IAT without the T.
I'm less certain because it's you're bypassing a town generally underground.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's still
someone else's property.
Yeah,
someone else's property. They might have. Most cases we won't see this, but some people have underground stuff, so don't want to interfere with that. Yeah, I think it's reasonable.
What should we? Okay.
Okay, so apply it to inactive bypass as well.
I guess the question is how, because the rule right now is just about IATs. How do you word it? I guess is the question.
I'd say it's inactive transfers and bypasses operate under the same set of rules.
Do we want to, just as a categorization, do we want to start lumping IATs and inactive bypasses together, maybe?
Probably. Sorry, you finish.
Yeah, because so far, because the inactive bypass has been put under, at least in terms of GSMs, it's under transport projects. But maybe you just lump them just topic-wise together.
I think since we're requiring them to use the same rule set, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to give him an acronym?
Yeah, I've
IAB.
IAB. Oh boy.
No, I would just say
IAB.
no. Just enact it. You don't need to. You don't need to give everything an acronym. This isn't the military.
But the thing is, in this case, they are similar things, though, right?
Yeah,
So it kind of makes sense to acronym this. As much as I don't like
I would
it,
just
but
drop the acronym from both and just call it inactive transfers and inactive bypasses.
I don't. The term IAT has been used too long. I don't think you're going to get.
I mean, we said that about auctions as well. So
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind changing things to make it more consistent and clear.
Yeah, IATs and IABs. I mean,
inactive asset business.
Yeah, no, I
Bypass.
would prefer just inactive bypass.
Oh,
Just
inactive
inactive
bypass?
transfer and inactive bypass.
Yeah,
I think we are getting caught up in semantics, and if we want to discuss this, we should discuss it.
Yeah, we'll discuss this, but it is important because if the rules are going to be similar, they should be categorized similarly. Like they need to be. The one thing I don't want to have to write rules for two different places for IATs and inactive TAM bypasses. Let's try to consolidate them if we can, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we agree to consolidate, we can come up with an acronym later.
Yeah,
I'm sure Chief will. I mean, we don't. The acronyms are Chief's fault, so we can all blame him. So.
Oh, I have a good one. Inactive transfers and bypasses. ITB.
Next topic.
I'll make a survey question or something. Any other? Oh, London wants to speak. All right.
Yes, London would like to speak.
Right. In which case, send the invite.
London. Yeah, accept them. There you go. Hi, London.
Yes, exactly.
Hello, right. I just wanted to ask a bit of a question. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a bit of a question actually about the build. Do we have to list every build, or does it include franchises, or
No?
is it just right? Okay.
Read the rules very carefully. It does say that if you do, like, you are responsible declaring. You don't have to declare everything. If you don't, any builds you don't declare will be assumed that you built them. So what that basically means is you just need to declare the ones that you didn't have a hand in building, and also not franchises, right? So
okay.
So yeah.
Franchises we assume were built by the franchise owner, not you.
Yeah, because it's clear there's.
All right. Thank you very much.
That it's the franchise who built it.
Yeah, people like to put their names on their franchises.
Yeah,
Otto has a question. You feel free to type it also in the channel too. Yano.
Oh, he did.
You need to declare franchises you made yourself.
I would say no, because you don't. I mean, you've built them yourself.
Yeah.
Your name is probably on it.
Actually, I'm actually said yes, but for basically reverse. Like because here's the thing. If I can see if the staff will, by default, are just, when they look at franchises, they assume it's not built by you, but they might not know who actually built the original. Like, you might have built the franchise, right? That's your franchise. So if you just want to point out to us, at least in like when you do town reviews or stuff, like, you built this, even though it's a franchise, you're probably better off actually telling us, right? Just pointing it out.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes franchises will have significant effort put into them. See General Motors by Iraq, I believe.
Yep.
That's a good example, yeah.
That is a very good example. But again, things like that, you can it's kind of, you know it when you see it kind of deal.
Just, yeah, basically what we're asking, just err on the side of caution. Like, just try to think of it from our point of view. If you think that we're going to miss something or that sort of thing, like, just declare it anyway. Just say it in your comment. Does that answer your question, or no? Okay.
Wonderful. Any other questions? or people who would like to speak?
Does that be questions? Could be anything else. Lithium has a question. I'm not sure if Lithium's listening. Yeah, no. Lithium, based on the situation with USSR grad, we're not going to. I don't think any IITs will be accepted for those anytime soon.
Lithium is not in the chat. Looks like
listening on live stream, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we need to type it out there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, no is the answer.
Any others until trustee notes?
Please give me a question. I don't want to read the trustee notes.
I can read.
I
those.
volunteer.
I can read the trustee notes if you really need me to.
Sure, I can.
Let your admins do it. We should just take turns. Oh my god, they're hilarious.
It seems done most of them before, like AP Center. Do you want to read them? What
I can read them, sure.
Yeah, we can alternate.
Yes.
Right, let's do it.
Hi, hello. I just need the trustee notes.
Elite.
Elite. I have
them.
I have them. Excellent. All right.
If you could pass us another copy and all.
All right. Apparently, this happened at the Waterville Stadium next to the giant bracket that was built. For nominations, the Sport of Lacrosse for trustee, Secret Highway to Central City for trustee, Skirt Mother Truckers for the official MRT motto was denied.
General business.
General business. The Central Park tram is recognized as an MRT line. The big bracket at Waterville Fitzpatrick Stadium is recognized as an MRT cultural site. A random U car is appointed and created Secretary of State of the MRT. Censure and condemnation of Painted Blue's autocorrect for high treason passed 5-0. Penn stationing Central City for a new trustee city approved 2-1. Doing, quote, government efficiency on the speaker's paperwork approved. Recognizing that the Federated States of the New World is under the ownership and control of the new states of the Federated World approved by a minority with thunderous applause, as well as Natalie Portman and Jimmy Smits. Changing Edward III's name to Edward, I am not going to pronounce that, denied 2-3. Declaring the funny quotes page as the official Trustee Association wiki page, and motion to adjourn. The speaker wishes everyone a happy spring and long live Eris the Eagle.
And
I,
I, Speaker Elite Neon, do hereby declare these results to be the will of the Trustee Association and its Speaker. I remember, if it's Sunday, it's Meet the Press. Executive Producer Dick Wolf.
Dong dong.
Praise be.
I don't know who that is.
That's Law and Order.
Do we want stupid questions and stuff?
Silly questions time. Also,
Lithium is
you can have
currently
these back.
asking a question for A746.
If you, I'm going to give you a second. If you TP here to me, I am going to. If people TP here to me, I'm going to do the traditional walk into the Bawabik Library with the results.
Yes.
The Wabik, thankfully, is not very far from here. In fact, it's the closest civilized settlement to here.
Time to go. I'm following AP.
Lithium, if you're listening, if you want to submit your question, go ahead. But we're going to be accepting other questions right now. So yeah, silly questions or anything else.
And all questions time. London apparently wants to speak again.
Oh. What is it, London?
Hello. Right. Yeah, you said you're accepting silly questions now, correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Since the Central City tram is now officially known as an MRT line, can we extend it?
No.
Why?
No.
It was never declared as an MRT line. Where are you
No,
getting your
the trustees declared it as so. The staff did not.
trustee meeting is not being and stupid. No.
It's silliness.
Oh, okay. All right, fair
No,
enough.
let's make it the new central. We'll make it the new circle line.
Circle Line Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Anyway,
I have a question. Actually, this is sort of well, not serious. The Purge. How did people feel? How did people like that event? Like,
I really liked that.
I think, I would say it went better than expected in that the server did not explode in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I find that it is possible to at least get like some concurrent towns, like maybe 2 or 3, to get that you can have TNT explosions happening there. But it does eventually, if you don't control that, eventually it does devolve into chaos and all that. For the anniversary, or I guess maybe I should ask this: would you want that event happening again? I'm not sure if the anniversary might be too close, but would you, or actually, if you have any suggestions for the anniversary for any other events, that's also I'd be interested in hearing.
Yeah,
I have something about the IAT rules again, which is brought up in Lithium's question a little bit after we're done with this.
Okay. Let me just focus on the anniversary.
I'm with Kitty on this one. I don't know. I don't think the Purge would really fit on anniversary. We're normally doing something on that day.
Yeah, that's. I'm in agreement.
London, yeah, Jackbox will definitely be coming back by anniversary. I think I can say because we haven't done it in a while. But yeah. Okay, well, if you guys want to do the Purge, maybe not an anniversary, but any time of the time, please let me know because it is fairly easy to. If you just do it on beta, it is fairly easy to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I feel like it should still be something that's somewhat rare because if it happens too often, it kind of loses its luster.
Yeah, before we've only done it when we change servers, and that only happens like every couple of years. So.
Yeah.
Okay. What's this about Lithium's questions, Kelly?
So should the rule about contacting the asset's owner apply for DM succession requests?
Can you clarify what do you mean by
DM transfers already have that in the rules where the DM has to contact the current mayor.
Yeah, attempt to, yeah. Unless they, of course, are banned.
Yes.
If they are banned, then, of course, you don't have to. And you are not expected to contact them. But otherwise, the rules already state that you should reach out and try to contact them.
the purges that happened during the server changes? I mean, they're epic, but they didn't last that long, which made me worried that some people might not. A lot of people expressed disappointment because the server died so quickly, they weren't able to participate.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, I was trying to extend it as long as possible.
I was thinking about how feasible this might be. If next time the purge happens, have it run on a script so it automatically restarts every hour or so with the previous save, with a previous save.
That could be a good idea, but I think that's something we should talk about more, like when we're planning for the next one.
There might be enough. I did say Zeta would be the last server, but there might be another one after this. So I don't know when.
Oh boy!
But
back to Lithium's question.
Next server confirmed.
I don't know what we proved though, as far as his A746 approval, because he's asking if he can connect to A6, and I don't recall what we approved him for, because we did that in phases.
Yes, I think there's like phase 1, phase 2, and then there's all this Bird Hall interchange business.
Bird Hall is where he's at right now. That's why I couldn't remember how much we approved him for in Bird Hall.
You might. I'm not.
Bird Hall and Benton.
I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty certain we're a bit more cautious when we approve things. So I'm guessing if he's already at Bird Hall, he probably needs to propose something again for the next phase.
Yeah, A6 is just Fenton with the phone man. Yeah, probably just propose something, let them be safe.
Even if it overlaps something from before, like just basically he needs to give us an update on what's going on, because we're not sure what his plans are right now.
Yeah.
Any other things you guys want to talk about? Could be serious, could be non-serious.
Did you guys enjoy the setting for the GSM?
Sorry, was that Scott?
Did you guys enjoy the setting for the GSM?
It's a nice place.
It's okay.
Next time it's happening at the end of Fosby Pier. Please don't wreck it. I'll do wreck it. I'll do wreck it. I'll make a backup anyway.
We have the power. We have the power of rollback.
For our viewers on MBS, thanks for tuning in to our live coverage of the April 2021 General Staff Meeting. From MBS News, somewhere on the New World, I'm Kitty Cat Moment 231. You can always follow our Twitter at twitter.com/news_MBS, where we have all of our live updates from today. For now, this has been the GSM on MBS.